Hello! Today I want to show you how you can make an automated recipe book using Python, the APIs of ChatGPT and DALLE-2 image generator. Let's get started. So we're going to use PyCharm here for the IDE. Generating a new project and calling it recipe app, and it's going to have its own virtual environment. I'm not going to inherit global site packages. I'm going to limit this just to this project imports. So let's create it, and we're going to make it new window, and that's going to make a blank project for us. Now this is the project tree. Let's make a Python file and call it app, and we're going to do our imports. That's going to be OpenAI, JSON request, and a bunch of other libraries for us to throw in all the images and recipes automatically to a doc file. So the imports are going to be so now that we have all of our imports, we're going to have an API key. I'm going to show you how you can insert your API key here. Just go to OpenAI site and log in. Get the API key from personal view API keys. So your new secret key can be generated here, but you should keep it secret. I'm going to use it here for this tutorial and then destroy it, so I'm fine. Now going back to our recipe app, and then we can just insert our API key. The next step is to insert our API URL and the headers, which basically is a way of authenticating the user that is necessary in an HTTP request. So here API key is a bearer token used for authorization, and the type of the content should be in JSON format. So in order to make our recipe book, we have to have some ingredients. And we want to have each dish to have their own ingredients and their own recipe and their own name. Let's say we want to make a book of 100 recipes, and our recipes are all ketogenic. For that, I'm going to use ChatGPT. I'm going to go to the ChatGPT.com, OpenAI.com, and say provide, let's say 100 ingredients for a ketogenic diet in a Python list. So let's see what it generates. So that's our Python list of different ingredients that are allowed on ketogenic diet. Unique dishes with them. Let's go to the top, copy the code, and come back to our recipe book app. I'm going to copy it here. It's a very long list. I'm going to say and gives us the return the recipe, and it returns DALLE prompt and image of the recipe. So that's a function here we have. I'm not filling it yet. I will later. And then I have book or like add to book function, which basically gets the recipe generator outputs and provides let's say it gets the recipe generator outputs and then gives us a recipe.docs file. So add the book. So what it does, it now recipe generator. For our recipe generator, we are going to use ChatGPT API, of course. To do that, I'm gonna move this down and ChatGPT API for our recipe generation. And providing DALLE prompt as well as a name. So I'm going to add that name of recipe here as well. So we're going to use ChatGPT API from OpenAPI. Go to ChatGPT. Oh no, sorry. Go to API and then go to GPT. And here there are different API endpoints. This is a typical chat composition endpoint. I'm going to use GPT-4 for my model, and in the messages here, the system is what you want ChatGPT to be. So here I'm going to ask ChatGPT to be my chef or a good DALLE-2 prompt generator. And then the user is going to be user who is going to enter the ingredients for us, or basically in our app the user is just asking for a recipe from ChatGPT to generate based on certain ingredients, and the assistant can be an example to ChatGPT to follow. So I'm going to go back to my code here, and okay, I wrote this function here. Use GPT-4 2000 maximum number of tokens. So have a look at the description here. You are a great chef and an awesome DALLE-2 prompt engineer. And then in the user role, I'm saying provide step-by-step instructions for a delicious recipe that has these ingredients. These ingredients, what it is, items is a list of ingredients that we want to generate recipe based on those. So I'm going to use items list, and by doing .join items, I'm converting it to a string to be able to append it here, and then to write it, and then I'm saying write a tag exactly equal to the word DALLE-2 prompt, and after that right away describe the DALLE-2 describe to DALLE-2 in one sentence your dish with its cuisine name that has these ingredients. The reason that I'm using this DALLE-2 prompt here, it's because when I get an output from my request, I have a bunch of things. I want to show the recipe part as recipe separate than the naming of the dish, separate than the prompt for DALL-E. I don't want to show the DALL-E prompt in my book. I can show that as a description, as a separate description of the dish, but it's not necessary. So I'm using this tag to be able to separate those pieces in the output of my request. And then I'm saying make sure before giving the dish name, write the exact word dish name. So that's another tag. Other than the tag I mentioned, don't use the word DALLE-2 anywhere at all. That is because I don't want my splitting up the strings to detect DALLE-2 anywhere else except this location. That's probably fine to use too, but this makes my work easier. And then to the role of assistant, I'm saying the recipe is something. The part that I'm going to teach to ChatGPT is, after writing the recipe, use this tag and then write a delicious Italian pasta, write the description. A delicious Italian pasta garnished with herbs and decorated with juicy meatballs on the table. So that's a description for my DALLE-2. And then dish name, add that word dish name and then Italian heavenly strings, for example. So that's it. A kind of description I'm providing to DALLE-2 to be able to identify what I mean by providing those tags before providing the descriptions. Recipe with prompt and name, so that's the output from my response, which returning here from this function, and I'll be using it in my image. Okay, so now I need a function for the image from DALL-E, and to do that, use this function here, which gets the prompt from ChatGPT, and then generates one image with the size 1024 pixels, and provide us with an image URL as an output. Now we have the function that generates recipe, we have the function that generates the picture, that we are ready to use them and to add them to our book. With the list of ingredients I have, to say this list of ingredients is passed to this function, and the output is just this recipe with all the components, that we provided tag for. We know that this includes recipe itself, name of it, and the DALL-E prompt. So I'm going to say, if I split this by DALLE-2 prompt, which is this keyword, so I split it by this keyword and use the first part of it, that is going to be my recipe. So recipe equal to this one, and then I'm going to use okay, and then I'm going to use this again as my DALL-E prompt, and that is going to be the second part of it. And then we have again something about the name of the recipe. So for that one, I'm going to use the tag that I provided to put before name, which was dish name here. So recipe name, and this is dish name. But since this is going to be provided the last keyword, that means I have to use the very last part of my string. Now we have all of these, but we don't have the image of the recipe. For that one, we have to use, for that, I am going to get the image of the recipe as an output from this function. I'm going to go to use my DALLE image function here, prompt DALLE. So that's the input of my function, and the output is image of the recipe, or we can say image of the recipe URL. And at this point we have to download the URL. At this point we have to download the image from this URL. For that we have to download the image from this URL. To do that, I'm going to get this function here. You see that I have this empty space.join ingredient, which is this list of ingredients that is for providing, or we can basically use the name of the recipe as our extra information about every image. So that would be in a sense a unique, so we can provide as this plus underline recipe image.jpg. So in this way, every recipe image has its own unique name, and that would be the output of our image of recipe. Now that we have our recipe generator for a single thing ready, we can add it to a Word document. We can add our recipe description as well as the name and image to our Word document. For that document, I would do a doc, and now start adding everything to my document. So I would do doc.add heading, and I would provide the name of the recipe first, and then everything in place. We can use our recipe generator to generate recipe and generate picture and add them to our book. So for a particular doc, we go to doc.add our heading to be the recipe name, name of the recipe, and then we want to have doc.add paragraph. It looks like it doesn't recognize doc. We have to import those libraries at the top, docx request open API. So we can use pip install OpenAI. We can do requests, and we have JSON, and then we have Python docx in order to install the packages for us. Okay, looks like it installed all those packages, so the red underline is gone now. Description to our book that add paragraph, and we are going to add the recipe, and then maybe we add another paragraph, and in that one we say enjoy this, and then we add the DALLE prompt, and eventually, so now we add our image, doc, add picture, and we have image recipe, which we have as an output from the above function. And then we say width, so we want to provide a certain width, inches, let's say 5.0. Now we have to save our document. I'm going to save it as doc.save recipe book. So we have everything for generating a single dish and its image, but we want to do it in a bunch. So I'm going to use put everything in a loop. For I in range say 100 or 10 or let's say 2, and then for that we are going to say ingredients list equal to random.sample, and then we have our list ketogenic ingredients list at the top, and we need to get n, and I'm going to give n here. Oops. I'm going to provide n equal to 8. For now, let's say we want each meal to have 8 ingredients from our list, and so the ingredient lists would be this, and then our recipe generator would use that to ingredient. Maybe we can just provide this here, list of ingredients, and then the output of that is this one. So I can say equal to, for this one I'm going to just say recipe image, and now add to book function will be used, which requires this image, and this doc has to be provided. I'm going to add it here, doc equal to document, and add to book. So let's just run this. I'm going to add print the ith recipe was generated. So let's run and see how it works. Okay, so 0th recipe was generated. Very good. We're waiting for another one. The first recipe was generated too. We have to have our book here. Let's open it. Okay, jumped. Let's grab it and bring it here. Southern Italian baked halibut and vegetables fritta recipe, and yeah, that's the picture. So enjoy this. Create an image. Okay, it's not perfect. Looks like we have the recipe here. Gonna make it in this mode. Start by preheating your oven. Sprinkle the halibut while the fish is cooking. And so we have the steps for a recipe, which looks nice. And then I say, enjoy this. Create an image of a baked halibut and vegetables, a nutritious fusion of Southern and Italian cuisines. This should be changed. We don't want to say create an image. And then the dish name, Southern Italian baked and vegetable fritta. That looks nice. We have the picture here, and then savory fusion surf and turf medley. We have the recipe and steps. Enjoy this savory fish turf surf medley, savory fusion. And so it looks nice, but I wanna modify. Okay, so let me know what you think about this tutorial. If you have other ideas that we can use ChatGPT or DALLE-2 APIs to implement, let me know in the comments. Thank you.